Tuned into the sounds of Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell.
This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game.
Congratulations! Oh my God.
That's what I'm talking about. This shit means something to me, man.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Handy, for that wonderful introduction, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. It's your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is episode number 399 of the podcast. In this episode, we are talking about the Washington Commanders' Week 5 win against the Cleveland Browns. I'm sorry, I had a tongue twister there. Before we get into it, there's a few things I want to say up front, ladies and gentlemen. 398, the Baltimore Ravens recap will be up. The number 400th episode will air later this week or sometime later tomorrow, as we are going to continue. We're going to conclude our one mind, one goal road to the WNBA Finals. The WNBA Finals is here after what seemed pretty fast. And then I'll conclude that series, Maryland football this Friday against Northwestern. And then WNBA Mock Draft 1.0. That'll be up sometime. If it's not this weekend, next week at the latest. I'll have that up for you guys. But yes, be tuned in for more content. But let's get into it. So this didn't feel like a football game. The Washington Commanders defeated the Cleveland Ladukis 34-13.
That's what I'm talking about. This shit means something to me, man.
So this is our fourth consecutive win. I'm going to start on the Cleveland side. Okay, so I've heard both sides and everyone's stance on Deshaun Watson. I think for right now, if I'm Deshaun, if I'm Kevin Stefanski, bench him. I just think his confidence, I just think this offense it's just struggled. I mean, Nick Chubb's not been there because he's been hurt. Amari Cooper's not been really productive. It's just something about Deshaun, especially come off the injury last year. And it's just something about this Cleveland team that just isn't there. Now, I'm not going to get into all the off the field stuff. That is for that I'm going to stay away from that. on the field, he's not the same guy. And some of that, I think it's him. I think it's the system. I think the personnel. But it just is a whole of how just the Cleveland Browns are. And I really think this is what they get for scapegoating Baker Mayfield, who I think was, and again, I'm not trying to be a Baker Mayfield apologist, but before that injury, he was giving you something. Now he's thriving in Tampa, and here's a guy you have given full guaranteed money. I mean, from the jump, from the game, I mean, on their side, I couldn't find their offense. I looked back on the tape. I watched this game, and I'm being dead ass when I say this. I watched it 2 times. And in the 2 times, their offense, the opening drive set the tone for them. They turned the ball over on downs. They were forced out of 3-and-out situations. I mean, then those first 3 drives in the first quarter, they couldn't get anything going. They punted the ball 7 times, and they were 1 of 13 on 3rd down. I simply cannot defend that.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
He didn't even try.
And some of that I blame Stefanski, but yeah, I mean, the job is to protect the quarterback, but Deshaun's gonna make plays. I mean, there are times I watch Deshaun Watson's not even trying, and I don't know if it's just. I mean, they didn't score their first touchdown didn't come until midway through the 4th quarter. And that was that 10-yard pass to Jordan Atkins. I mean, 15 of 28, 125 yards. That ain't gonna cut it. I mean, he was sacked 7 times. He was hit 11 times. I mean, their offensive line was piss poor. I mean, we could bring up his QBR, but that offensive line was terrible. And please do not bring up the running game was essentially was a non-factor. I mean, even when Nick Chubb comes back, that's not fixing anything. I mean, at this point in the season, you would have thought training camp, mini camp, they would have figured out how to utilize their strengths. I didn't see that. They talked about they want to be an explosive offense. They're working on talking about defensively, how they're matching up, at one point using 2 high safeties. They talk about running the ball. Nick Chubb hasn't been there. Their offense hasn't done that. They finished the game, I think it was 108 yards passing, net 108 net passing yards, and 104 net rushing yards. That's less than 4 yards a game. That's mediocre. That's disgusting. That's not winning you football games. And then their special teams is the only truly positive for them. I mean, their punter, he put the defense in good position. 4 of his 7 punts were inside the 20. There were 3 that were inside the 10-yard line. I mean, the only thing I would say was that the catch interference in the first quarter gave him an additional 15 yards. But I mean, their special teams has been consistent for them. But on both sides of the ball, mental mistakes, multiple penalties. You know, there was a couple too many men on the field, and four possessions. That can't happen. I mean, like, there was, and I'm sitting there going, like, by halftime, like, the game was pretty much over, and I like, they look undisciplined, they look demoralized, they just don't. This is not the same Cleveland Browns team everyone was raving about. Some of it I place on Deshaun's shoulders. I place on Kevin Stefanski. But again, the Browns are the Browns. History's repeating itself. Like, some of it to me is also too, like, when you go in a press conference, you hold your guy accountable and saying, well, nobody played great, but he is our star and he has to play better. we have to play better. Offensive line, we all have to take accountability in certain ways. I'm gonna tell you right now, Philadelphia is beating them next week. I'm not. I don't know how you adjust on the fly because like they stink. They're going to be the way they're playing. They're probably going to win 4 games at best because I don't see them turning it around. And you put Jameis Winston out there, what is he going to do? I love Jameis. He's not fixing that. He's not. Dorian Thompson, he's not fixing that. Let me go to the Washington side of it. That positive wise, defensively, 7 sacks. I'll take that. I mean, again, and also too, for Cleveland, injuries have been there. They're starting right tackle, Jack Conklin, wasn't there. The offensive line is pretty banged up, but did the sack Deshaun Watson 7 times? I mean, that's the most since week 2 last year. And give Frankie Lavu, Bobby Wagner, they had combined 13 sacks. 13 tackles and 4 sacks. I'll give them that. That was pretty much a positive. They allowed only 1 third down conversion defensively. I mean, their offense was struggling the first 4 weeks. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, but defense, an offense that has Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, and Njoku, and Deshaun Watson, that could be something. But I was wrong. And I mean, also too, I mean, they were, even though it was a good performance, how we played, especially on first and second down, that was pretty good. I mean, there was a couple times where Cleveland was 3rd and long 7 times, only converted 1. Like that credits our defense. Credit that. I mean, there are times where Deron Payne, Frankie Lavu, Dorrance Armstrong, we're just making it up front tough. Now, I give the offense. I mean, excuse me, the defense. I'm gonna give them an A because they did all the right things. Because we hadn't seen a pass rush this well. I mean, we had 8 coming into this game, 8 sacks in 4 games, which is 25th in the league. So hey, look, and the secondary did their job. I mean, this is a secondary that everyone's been criticizing, but there wasn't any oblivious blown coverages, no wide open touchdowns. Yay. So I'm pretty impressed. And then to the offensive side of the ball, Jaden, he is looking pretty good. I heard on TV and on the radio that some people saying that he should be in the conversation for MVP. He threw his first interception last week. Against the Cardinals, but then this week another interception. It was intended for Zach Ertz, and it hit and it was in the hands of Jeremiah OK. And again, 320 yards of offense. I'll take that. Now, against the Cardinals, looking back at that tape, he didn't use his arm much. But I mean, still, to see how the offense has looked. I mean, when you look at we've sprung up 34 or more points in the last 3 games. It's churned out a little slow, but you look at Cliff Kingsbury's game plan; it's gotten better. You see more downfield shots are taking, and especially. Again, the only concern is pass protection. But again, Jaden is bailing us out with the ability to scramble and move in the pack in the game. Now, he was sacked 3 times, but I give him credit on that. Now, especially when you look at the stats, 14 to 25, 56% of his passes, 238 yards, a touchdown to pick. I mean, There's games he's not going to throw 80%. There's games he's not going to throw 70%. There's things are going to happen. He's getting better, and again too, like some of that is just it's a game by NFL is a week by week case. So I really want to see how that looks as it goes forward, because if he's definitely going to be the glue to what our offense is going to be, watch out. Now, my only negative, I will say, when I look back at this game, was our running backs. Now, I know what you're thinking, but consistency is the first thing that comes to my mind. And I can say the same thing for the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar and Derrick Henry. Yes, all three running backs, 20 carries. Well, when you look at it, okay, the whole running game, 34 carries, 215 yards, 3 touchdowns. Spectacular. The running backs, 20 carries, 119 yards. What's that? So that's 6 yards a carry. 78 of those were from Austin Eckler. 50 of those were from Jeremy McNichols. And then the rest was from Brian Robinson. Well, Brian Robinson, I don't know, maybe just was defensive schematics, but other well that. But Jaden Daniels. He was the leading rusher. Granted, again, the ability to scramble and move out the pocket is great. But when you have 3 running backs like Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, now Jeremy McNichols, my quarterback shouldn't be leading in yard and should not lead the team in rushing yards. I mean, he had 11 of those carries, I think it was. 11 of those could have went to Brian. You could have found a way to get all of those 11 carries split up. But it has to be consistent. And you can't just have 4-5 yards per carry on a couple big plays. That needs to be consistent. Now, don't get me wrong. They're doing well. I mean, they were 24th in rushing last year. Now they're 3rd. But are we okay with that being our game plan every week? Because you got to take that out. And that's going to be something I'm going to watch, especially when we play when Washington plays the Ravens, because Baltimore is the number 1 rushing defense statistically. They're going to have to take somebody out the game. So I was very, very surprised by that. And then when you look at the Commanders, I mean, listen, they're doing all the right things. Everything's starting to come together. Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson, that's going to be a duo. And then you added Jeremy McNichols last week was our team captain. The culture in Washington, it's pretty damn good. When you see, guys in the locker room happy, smiling, there's a lot of optimism that you should be happy about. I mean, say what you want. I mean, whether it was Cleveland as a whole being that garbage, but I mean, the first 3 weeks, Washington defensively was, and you've seen improvements. They're made statistic. You might see some stats that may go like, "Oh, okay." I mean, they are gradually improving each week, and that's what we want to see. This is a results-oriented league, and again, each week is a case by case. We're off to a slow start against Cleveland, and we're picking it up. We're 4-1. Nobody would have pictured that. Now, I do want to say this. This notion that the Ravens are inferior, or this belief that we're not aware or paying attention to seeing what's been happening with the Commanders, I think that's disingenuous. I read somewhere that there was something along the lines of we've scoffed at them. First and foremost, there was one point where both teams were winning. And yes, RG3 got hurt by a hit by Hello United. If that wish that wouldn't have happened. But then watched him play on one leg against Seattle when he shouldn't have played. Okay. And then the Commanders became mediocre after that. There's a lot of optimism with both teams. I am happy to see both teams successful. There was a point where the Nationals I'll use baseball, the Washington Nationals in this recent decade of baseball. Won a World Series for the Baltimore Orioles. We were happy for them. Now the Nationals are rebuilding. The Orioles have made the playoffs back-to-back years, even though we got bounced in the first round. You're happy to see winning culture, especially in Maryland, in the DMV particularly as well. So like this notion it's the Commanders, they're easy to beat. That's not the case. Stop. It's going to be a great game Sunday. I can't wait. And again, the Ravens will have their homework out. They'll have the work cut out for them. I think they'll be ready. I think Washington will be ready. It's going to be a great game. Everyone's talking about there's going to be this high-scoring offense, this high-scoring game. I don't see it like that. I think it's going to be somewhere around the low 20s. I think it's going to be like a 20, 30, 21 Ravens. Something like that. Some people are saying 41, 30. I heard one person say it was going to be 50 to 36. That's unrealistic. But you just look at the last few weeks. Both teams in Washington has gotten better on the offensive side of the ball, and the defensive side of the ball is starting to pick it up. Now, like I said, week 6, again, this is week by week cases. Let's see how it looks. I really can't. In fairness, and I'm being really honest when I say this, I cannot judge this team off what I saw against the Browns. If to me, by halftime, the Browns just threw the white flag, just said fuck it, the game's over. And to me, that's you look at the tape, it's really kind of hard to really, really judge them. And it's they did all the right things, but it's against a team that I don't know what's going on in Cleveland. So, that's essentially, those are my thoughts on the game. I don't have a final thought. I have a final thought. Commercial break.
Thoughts are running through my mind. So I took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
Okay. So my one final thought is actually, I'm a little confused on something, because am I missing something? To say And again, I don't know where this came from. I really don't. And if I remember to find it, I'll leave it in the description. But to say that Jaden Daniels has Lamar's number, I think that's disingenuous to a 2-time MVP. And then already putting him in the conversation for MVP. First of all, he's my rookie of the year. But I also, too, think it's disingenuous to compare him to Justin Fields. They're two different quarterbacks. I don't know why Brady brought up Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears will be fine. I said it before, and I said it again. Justin Fields should still be in Chicago. But first and foremost, they are not Ryan Leaf and Peyton Manning. There was a podcaster that mentioned this on Twitter. And if I find that, I'll leave it in the description. Two nowhere different. They're two totally different, 4 different quarterbacks, and it's not even close. Caleb will be fine. Jaden will be fine. There will be mistakes. But it's interesting and they kind of did this too when we had the preseason streak almost. And it's like I don't know where this comes from. Like we're scoffing at them, or we're doing this, or we're doing that. It's just weird. I'm just really looking forward to Sunday. It's going to be a good game. Both quarterbacks are the face of their franchise. Listen, the Commanders for years before the Ravens came to town had it. Then the Ravens came in '96. You know, both teams have had their ups and downs. It happens. But let's appreciate the greatness that we're seeing with both teams so far this year. Like, we could be fandoms and we can all, talk trash and X, Y, Z, but I like some of the things like on TV or social media, like, y'all calm down. Like, if they played poorly against Cleveland, you know what? I won't do it. It's okay. Let it go. But I'm looking forward to the game. We play the Baltimore Ravens. It's a home game for the Ravens. The final score, my prediction, the Baltimore Ravens 30, the Washington Commanders, I'm looking 21.
Guaranteed.
And we'll talk more about that in the recap. But my keys for Baltimore is establish the run early, mixing the run and pass. Protection is going to be key. I would like to see how we're going to look against their secondary. Their secondary seemed to, the measuring stick on their offense in Cleveland versus our offense are two totally different measuring sticks because they didn't even try. I mean, 1 of 10 on third downs, that won't happen against for Baltimore. Defensively, passing, we got to contain Terry McLaurin, Luke McCaffrey, Zach Ertz. Got to figure that out. Got to also figure out how to get to Jaden Daniels. That's going to be something to watch. So it's going to be who breaks and who bends. But if everything's right, again, it's a home game. I know it's going to be a lot of burgundy and gold there. It's going to be a lot of purple and black. It's football time. So, but that's going to conclude this episode of the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, be tuned in for future episodes. Please like, comment, and subscribe for all future content. I appreciate the support you're giving me in this channel. And the Serengeti is a very, very dangerous place. And I cannot wait this upcoming Sunday. But be tuned in for future episodes, people. Peace. Stay up.
It's Friday night and I hit up the crew. Grab the keys, jump in my ride, cruise the town and can find something new. Hit the club, the DJ's got the dance floor in a groove, and none of that compares to when I turn around and saw you. I can't understand it, girl. How you do the things I'm wanting to do. While we're in this club.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything you